time, though. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that then. Why I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know, come more to the sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the fourth, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're out the dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches, won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckeyser here with the Man Hour. If you'd be most inclined tonight, head over to manhourradio.com and check out the new merchandise. We do have merch dropping each and every day over there. The Beastie merch is now live. And if you guys are new here, consider subscribing to the youtube.com/Man Hour, as we will be doing weekly giveaways from now until the end of the year. So you can count it as 10 days of Christmas or whatever, or 10 days to Halloween or whatever you want to. But this week we are giving away a tumbler. It is very hard to see on camera here, guys, but it is a 20-ounce tumbler with the MH logo, as you see on my shirt here, with the manhourradio.com website on there. So you guys can, register to to join that giveaway here, right here, all week long, and we will be choosing the winner on Thursday's show. So to claim that, you have to be active on the Thursday show. Click the link, and we'll get the information from you, shipping address and all that other stuff. But how do you get points, you ask? You simply become active in the chat. So for every 5 minutes you are active on the chat here, you get some points added to your name. And also sharing and liking the feed also gets you more entries into this wonderful, wonderful giveaway that we're doing. Last week was a Beastie merch. This week is the tumbler. Next week we're going to do a Beastie hoodie. So there's a lot of stuff that is happening over here at Man Hour. So you guys just be active in the chat, youtube.com/Man Hour. Get those loyalty points up, and you can register up to 1 million times with your points there. So we do have Drew popping into the chat here tonight. What's going on, Drew? If you guys see that little logo by Drew's name here, if you watch us on the live version, Drew is a member. He is a 5-9 member here at Man Hour Radio, and Drew gets access to the Vegas trip. We haven't been really pushing that much as of late, but if you are a 5-9 member or higher here at youtube.com/Man Hour, you get free entry into that Vegas trip. And every time you do, get the highest point total for the week, you get additional entries into the Vegas trip. So that is going on, and also he will get a free T-shirt after 6 months of service, which he is. Drew, you're definitely 6 months in, so we'll have to get you some merch sent out here. But if you become a 99 member, you get a hoodie every year you are part of Man Hour Nation. He also said that's a nice royal blue hat you got going on there, along with the royal blue hoodie. So yeah, I am blue on blue tonight 100%. So I do got to represent my boys, even though they're not in the playoffs. But guys, we do got some action-packed show for you tonight. We got Kevo coming up here in roughly about a half hour. That is the bottom line. So that is our weekly Monday segment here. Kevo joins us from the Real Bottom Line with Kevo Sports Podcast, and he basically gives us some insights of like how to think about things in a different point of view. Last week he was on, and he did the whole stereotypical black quarterback, black athlete quarterback in it, and we're like, how can we change that perspective? And if you guys want to know our opinions on that, head over to youtube.com/Man Hour, hit that subscribe button, and we upload those clips each and every day over there, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every 3 hours. So what is it? It's 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., 8, 11, and then 2 again. So every 3 hours, guys, we are uploading more content on the way there. So we do, like I said, we do got some action-packed show happening tonight. Dak Prescott, we will be talking about the Dallas Cowboys in hour number 2 here. And then we got week 7 of the NFL season is upon us, which best 2-4 teams that are out there. And of course, we're going to talk about how trash Lamar Jackson is moving forward and what makes him trash. But we got to start off here with a team that is very, very near and dear to my heart, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. So I obviously, guys, I am a Chiefs fan. There's no homerness about it. It is what it is. But the Kansas City Chiefs did beat Washington on Sunday, 31-13. But the offense looked suspect at best in the first half. They had 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions. The Tyreek Hill, I don't know what's going on with him, but everything can't be blamed on Patrick Mahomes. But it is a interception stat that goes on his stat book. So 2 interceptions, and they had a fumble. But then you look in the second half, guys, they were damn near unstoppable. So I'm going to ask this question here. Are the Kansas City Chiefs in trouble, or are they back on track? And I pulled up the Kansas City Chiefs schedule here, moving forward here. So obviously, guys, this coming Sunday, they're at Nashville taking on the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are a team that I don't know whether they're coming or going. And to be honest, they're usually going, because I think King Henry is overrated. As yes, his numbers, he has like 5 straight games with like 100 yards rushing. Like I get it. He is doing good things, but the Titans as a whole are just not a very good team. And then we got the Giants on Monday night, and then the Packers, and then the Raiders and the Cowboys, and like in the Broncos. So the schedule isn't favorable, but it's not unfavorable. I like either. So are the Chiefs back on track? I mean, the Chiefs offense was never off track, right? I mean, they have 31 points last week, 38 points 20 points in a loss to Buffalo, and then 42, then 24. I mean, they're still averaging 20 plus points a game. And when your offense is averaging 20 plus points a game, you should be winning a lot of ball games. The problem with the Kansas City Chiefs is that defense. And guys, I've harped on this. I fired everybody on the defensive side of the ball 2 times over and ran over the bus 3 or 4 times with them. And the defense is just not very good. It is the worst defense that we've ever seen, ever. And so to answer the question in a full sense, are the Kansas City Chiefs in trouble? Absolutely, they are in trouble. I don't care. They could get Richard Sherman, prime time, Deion Sanders, prime time, actual prime in his time. Deion Sanders, like, on that team, and that defense would still be horrible. It's just, I don't know what it is, but the defense is just flat out horrible. And then to add insult to injury, right? Honey Badger posted on Twitter, I do believe, that he had broken his thumb Sunday versus the Washington football team. So let's say he has to miss time, right? We've already seen what he can do for the Kansas City Chiefs and what he cannot do with the Kansas City Chiefs. When the Honey Badger is in there, full strength, healthy, ready to go, the Kansas City Chiefs are a decent defense, right? They are Super Bowl caliber defense. They will play just good enough to get you to the Super Bowl, as we've seen in years past, right? But when he is on the field, he is a difference maker. Like, I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, he will put people in the right position. He will make up for your mistakes. As I coach my linebackers, my defensive ends, is like, you do you, and my linebackers will make you right. And that's exactly what Honey Badger does. He makes everybody else on the field right. So let's say he were to miss some extended time for this broken thumb. A safety, he should wrap that thing up and club it up. And no doubt in my mind, he should be on on the field. But let's say he was to miss some time. They might fare okay versus the Titans, simply because they're going to run the ball heavy, and he is not that big a factor in the running game. Yes, he does cut down the outside edge a little bit and force it back into the linebackers, play that subject at best. The Giants are just flat out sucking right now. Everybody on their roster and their moms are hurt. But then 3 weeks down the road is when we play the Packers at home. So I mean, it is going to be so tough if the Kansas City Chiefs do not have Honey Badger for the Green Bay Packers, or even the Raiders and the Cowboys. So he definitely needs to find his footing real quick here. And if he doesn't, we are in a world of hurt. Kansas City Chiefs are definitely in a world of hurt. So I do have some questions rolling in here on the old Twitter machine. And Let me get the raffle going here for everybody, so you have time to enter in if you would like on the old raffle there. I believe you just got to push a hashtag Beastie to get yourself entered into that raffle. So, question number one is Patrick Mahomes overhyped? What? Let me read that question again. Is Patrick Mahomes overhyped? I mean, I guess in a sense, if you let's look at the stats for Mr. Patrick Mahomes so far this season. Like I know on Sunday he had what 330 some odd yards, 3 touchdowns. So is that overhyped? Absolutely not. And if you look for that moving forward, I mean, it's just how can you be overhyped when you have 1,800 yards in the first 6 games of the season, 18 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, yes, and a quarterback rating of 103. He is averaging 345 yards a game. He's averaging 345 yards a game, 7.8 yards like attempt. He is not overhyped whatsoever. So to the person Trent that says is Patrick Mahomes overhyped? Absolutely not. Patrick Mahomes is not overhyped at all. He is a very, very solid quarterback. He just like we will get into this later in the show when I talk about Lamar Jackson here in a couple minutes. Here it's just how can you be overhyped when you have gone to is it 2 straight Super Bowls and 3 AFC championship games? You cannot be overhyped when you do that. Hell, his first year as a starter, he led them to the AFC championship game. And if D Ford wouldn't have lied 15 yards offsides and then played stupid about it, they would have been in the Super Bowl and beat Tom Brady in the AFC championship game. Do you guys understand that? Like he is not overhyped at all. The only thing that is overhyped on the Kansas City Chiefs right now, honestly, is Chris Jones, Mr. Felony himself. Like, how many times do you need to get arrested for having a AK-47 in your backseat and doing 160 down the interstate in LA? Like, come on, man. Like, at some point, you got to grow up and get past the AK-47. Like, just downsize to the 9mm, and you'll be totally fine. So, next question that I had rolling here on the Twitter is, why cannot the Honey Badger? Can the Honey Badger not play with a broken thumb? Like I just said, he better wrap that thing up and club it. He needs to be on the field. If you're letting a broken thumb stop you from playing, you can go back to Arizona for all I care, or Houston, or wherever the hell you came from. Man up, get your ass on the field and play. Your team needs you right now. You're getting paid what, $70 million. You can play with a broken ass thumb. Hell, I've seen people play with broken hands and legs, and Ronnie Lott cut his damn pinky off. Come on, man. You can play with a broken thumb. I don't care how big of a baby you are. Liz says Patrick Mahomes definitely is not overhyped. Yeah, I agree with you, Liz. I'm not for sure what Trent is smoking over there, but definitely not smoking the cigarettes per se. He must be on meth or something. But yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is not overhyped whatsoever. But if you guys want to talk about overhyped, that is Mr. Lamar Jackson. Yes, the Ravens unloaded on the Browns on Sunday, and Lamar Jackson had a great game. I'm not going to take away from him. He had a great couple weeks. He beat down the Browns, injured Browns, I should say. Kareem Hunt got hurt. Baker Mayfield got hurt. But we digress on that. They had a great game against the Colts on Monday night. Came down from 22-3. He had, 465 yards in just the second half alone, right? I mean, he's definitely on an MVP caliber level the last game and a half. But, guys, this is why Lamar Jackson is trash. You heard me right. Lamar Jackson is trash because of the following reasons. Number one, every Baltimore Raven fan out there puts Lamar Jackson up on this pedestal that he cannot do anything wrong. So when you are a Greek god in Baltimore and Indianapolis and Louisville, Kentucky, and wherever else all the Lamar Jackson fans are at. When you do not perform at a MVP level, game in and game out, and have a Super Bowl ring, have taken your team to the AFC Championship, hell, have 2 wins in January, you are going to be classified as a trash quarterback, in my opinion, because your fans, yes, you fans out there, put Lamar Jackson on such a pedestal that it is unrealistic for him to succeed your level of expectations. Number 2, when Lamar Jackson does do great, right? I mean, I'm not taking anything away from his ability on the field the last couple games. He's throwing the ball well. He's running the ball well against the Colts and the Browns. You guys saying, oh, Lamar's so great. He has no skills around him. You know, he is doing this all just like all by himself, yada, yada, yada. He's putting the team on his back, carrying and doing this, and this. Okay, awesome. Had that same energy when he loses the game. You guys, you guys basically say that when he wins, he's doing it all by himself and he's so great, yada, yada, yada. But when he loses, it's everybody else's fault because he doesn't have any help around him. He doesn't have a number 1 receiver. He has 3 old ass running backs that are going to be on IR in 2 weeks because they're old and broke down, right? So have that same energy when he wins and when he loses. Don't twist the narrative like Combs does just to fit that, you know, everything just like it is what it is. But Lamar Jackson is trash is because of you fans. You fans put him up on this pedestal and he will never meet expectations. And I will continue this trash train until he wins an AFC championship game. He just has to be second best. He has to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't care if they get blown out. Win an AFC championship game, and then we'll rehash this situation. Drew says Lamar kicking the dead horse again, Buck. Yeah, so Drew, you were in the chat last night. There were people coming out of my throat saying that, oh, Lamar Jackson's top 10, yada, yada, yada. I gave them 10 quarterbacks that were better than Lamar Jackson just off the top of my head. And I can do it again right here. We'll start at the bottom east of the United States and work our way up and work our way over, right? So Tom Brady, obviously, number 1 right there. Sam Darnold in Carolina. Performing, going great. Yes, he is struggling right now, but he is without CMC, and he's finding a way to win those games. Yes, they did lose in overtime versus the Vikings, right? But they came back. So Sam Darnold, I believe, is better than Lamar Jackson right now. Joe Burrow, better than Lamar Jackson. Mac Jones, better than Lamar Jackson. Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady. Or sorry, I already said Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott. There's 7 just off the top of my head. Then we have Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. And I mean, it's just his yardage alone is better than half of the NFL. Oh, I don't care about that. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes is sitting at 1,900 yards, Drew. Let's pull up, if my computer will work correctly. Here we go. Let's pull up Lamar Jackson's yards. So Patrick Mahomes has 1,900 passing yards. I did not look at his rushing stats, but it's probably a couple hundred. So let's say he has 2,200 yards on the season. Let me look at the stats right here for Lamar Jackson. Then bada bing, bada boom. Boom, doom, 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 doom. Thank you, Spectrum, for being slush-ass slow internet. But we digress on that. We digress. So Lamar Jackson has 1,600 yards passing and 392 yards rushing. So judging by my math, that's about 2,000 yards, right? That's how much Patrick Mahomes has. So I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me, Drew. So you're comparing apples to apples, right? Lamar Jackson has 1,686 yards passing. Patrick Mahomes has over 1,800, almost 1,900 yards. And so right there, Patrick Mahomes has 300 yards passing. Lamar Jackson has 392 yards rushing. Let me go back to the Chiefs here and see how many yards Patrick Mahomes has. Drew, aren't you a Chiefs fan? So what are you defending Lamar Jackson for? He is trashed and you know it. So just stop with the whole thing. So Patrick Mahomes has 200 yards. So guys, they are right even, neck and neck. So total yardage, and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson have the same total yardage. They are right there neck and neck, maybe a few things a piece. So that point is invalid to me whatsoever. So since Lamar has over half of the yardage of the NFL, Patrick Mahomes does too. Tom Brady does as well. Hell, I bet you Dak does as well. So, what does it matter to the end of the day? What kind of yardage that he has? What he has is these fans putting him up on the pedestal time after time after time again, and it is nauseating. It is ridiculous that you guys saying he cannot do anything wrong. When he wins, he does it all by himself. When he loses, he doesn't have any help around. Doesn't have any help around him. Make up your mind. That is it, guys. We are going to take our first break of the night as I try to catch my breath. Kevin O will be coming up with his guys here in about 10 minutes here on the Man Hour. We are giving away the 20-ounce Man Hour tumbler tonight. You guys see, it's hard to see. But yeah, whatever. It's the Man Hour logo with the website on it. YouTube.com/Man Hour, guys. The raffle is live. Drew says I broke the bot. How did I break the bot? I didn't break it. Whatever. Hashtag Beastie if you guys want to get entered into that draft. It costs 2 loyalty points per ticket. You can get up to, looks like 10,000 times you can enter in. Not a million, 10,000. My bad. Guys, we'll be right back here on the Man Hour.
Brought to you by Brooks Roofing and Siding. Contact them at 812-868-7663 or online at brooksroofingin.com. Brooks Roofing and Siding, protection you need when nature strikes.
And and welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckeyes along with Brandon Combs. Actually, Brandon Combs is not here. I got in the old habit. Michael Buckeyes here flying solo tonight. Kevin O is coming up here in just a little bit with the bottom line with Kevin O. But if you guys are interested, head over to manhourradio.com and check out some merch. BC merch is dropping. We got joggers, hoodies, mugs, book bags, etc. Anything you could possibly want, BC merch is over there. We also got the Man Hour logo merch here. As you guys see, my hoodie here with the crown and the old MH on there. So it is great stuff here. So as during break here, I was scrolling through Twitter and people were adding me, saying that Lamar Jackson is not trash, yada yada yada. But I saw some breaking news here. So breaking news has just come across the desk here. This is via SportsCenter. So shout out to SportsCenter for giving us for this breaking news. But Washington State football coach Nick Rolovich is out as head coach because he has been refusing to get vaccinated, and this is a requirement for all state employees of the state of Washington to get vaccinated. So he is out as football coach for not getting vaccinated. So that brings me to a question that, obviously we are surrounding ourselves with the whole COVID-19 vaccine and like all this other stuff. So we have seen people like Kyrie Irving in the NBA saying, hey, I am not going to get vaccinated. And I believe he has to get vaccinated for the state of New York and the state of LA or the arenas, and he will not be able to play, in those particular arenas, and he is going to miss his pay for those games. So this is troublesome to me, just because people know that, you always have these mandates, or not mandates, but requirements to do certain things. You have to have a tetanus shot to go to school, right? You have to have other vaccines, you have to have proof of vaccines to even go to school. So what is the big deal about vaccine? Okay, so I get it. You do not want people to tell you what to do. I totally get it. I understand. I am not vaccinated myself yet, but I'm going to have to be here in the next few weeks for my work, because over the 100-person people thingy-majig that Joe Biden says, hey, if you have over 101 employees or 99 or everybody has to get vaccinated. So when the state of Washington says, hey man, you got to do it, and he refuses to do that, what kind of precedent is that setting to your players? Just because, you teach discipline, you teach following the rules, you teach doing the right thing, even though it might be wrong. But then coach the Washington State football team refuses to do this. I mean, you are fighting a double-edged sword there, buddy. And quite frankly, you are probably never going to get another job because of this right here. Just because, how can players respect you when you don't follow the rules yourself? Am I making any sense here? I don't know, but nonetheless, he is out. Breaking news coming in, obviously through the sports desk there. So we are, shout out to SportsCenter for dropping that breaking news here roughly about 15 minutes ago. Drew comes up with the cheap shot there. He says, how did your K-State do this weekend? We did not do well. I just want to point out actually, Drew, we did not do well. K-State, Kansas State Wildcats did not do well on Saturday. I think we've lost 3 in a row now or something to that effect. We were doing great. We beat Stanford. We beat some other teams, some lower ranked teams, like as always, that's just what K-State does, is we do well in the early season, and once conference play started, we fall off the map. But yeah, we're a 500 team. That's just the way it is. People got excited because we got in the top 25 after beating Stanford. Stanford's looking like a good team now, but back then, they were just like meh, and now K-State's like meh, more like a mer. So, nonetheless, guys, yeah, Drew, K-State did not do well. So, like I said, guys, the raffle for the Man Hour logo tumbler is live. It does cost 2 loyalty points to enter in. You can enter up to 10,000 times, or so that's 5,000 tickets. You can get entered in. Drawing will be Thursday. You have to be present during the live stream to get that, because you have to click on it and say, yes, I approve of this. I want it. And I send me your address, and bada bing, bada boom, we get this sent off to you. So Thursday show, hour number 2, be sure to be joined. You have to be live. You have to be present to win that. So let's get into it. It's a little bit more sports talk here. We have about a half hour left on tonight's show before Kevo joins us here. So let's talk a little bit about Steelers and Seahawks. So Steelers and we got this guy. Jesus.
Can you hear me all right?
We can, bud. We can.
All right,
What's
perfect.
up? What's up, big
What's
guy?
going on, man? Forgot my microphone, so if I'm a little echoey, I apologize.
Here, let me go ahead and jump in there for you real quick, and we'll fix it and make it sound not so shitty. How about that? So let me just go ahead and mute you, and then there you go. We are perfect. No.
That'll work.
So basically, Combs, right before you jumped on, some breaking news came across the old Twitter machine, and Nick Rovich, the Washington State football coach, has been terminated because he refused to get the vaccine. So all
Wow.
all state of Washington employees are required to get the vaccine, but he is out as football coach in the middle of a season. I said it's kind of bullshit that happened, but at the same time, I see it too. You know, if it's a mandate, if it's a rule, follow it. So, what are your raw emotions about that? Raw thoughts about that?
That's tough, man. You fire somebody for a personal choice that is very debated right now. Like, so I don't understand, man. I don't understand how we can fire anybody for that right now. I don't understand how we can mandate it right now. I don't understand how, like, this thing has gotten so out of hand. And I mean, you know how I feel about this. I feel it's very politically driven. It's obviously a real thing. People have really died from it. I don't think it's as many as they say. I don't understand where we are right now as a society, other than just being controlled by the government.
Right. Well. Speaking of COVID, Drew just sent me this message here about a half hour ago, and Paul Stanley of Kiss dies because of COVID at age of 52. So obviously, you know, it is a very, very real thing. But at the same time, you guys know Kiss. They partied hard. They were rock stars, and I'm sure he had some underlying conditions. Let's just be flat out honest about that. How much cocaine did he do, like in the '80s? You know, that destroyed his immune system. So, is it all COVID, or is it more like my heart's getting ready to explode anyways, and COVID is lie? I guess there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, it's a slippery slope. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
like I haven't been very. I don't believe very much in what's going on. I definitely don't believe the numbers, but at the same time, like I got vaccinated because Michelle's parents are at home, and I don't want them to get any sort of it. I don't want anything like that to happen. I don't want to be the reason why anything like that happens. So yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
Yes. So let's say, for example, Nick Saban and Alabama were placed in Washington, right? So and you know, Alabama has the same reputation that they have now. Nick Nick Saban is the college goat coach, yada yada yada, and like all that stuff. Do you think the state of Washington fires Nick Saban for not getting a vaccine? Absolutely not. They will figure somehow to forge a vaccination card or something to that effect. But it's the fact that Washington State football has not really been that relevant for the last couple years. Actually, let me go ahead and pull up them right now. So let me pull up the standings, just because like I personally have I don't know anything about Washington State football right now because for one, they're in the Pac-12. Who the hell wants to watch football at 2 o'clock in the morning? I mean, of course, like we love football, but I'm not staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning to watch the game. So as my Pac-12 pulls up here, Washington Huskies. So actually, Washington State Cougars are 3-2 on the season. They are third in the Pac-12 North, which actually puts them pretty close to being last because the Pac-12 North is not very good compared to the South. So if Alabama and Nick Saban were in Washington right now, I guarantee you they would not be firing them at all. But guys, it is that special time of night. We have the real Kevo getting ready to join us, and that is the bottom line with Kevo. Kevo, what's going on tonight, brother? You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, man. What's going on? How you doing?
We're doing great, man. So first things first, before we get too carried away into our segment with you tonight, as we do every Monday here, right about this time, the breaking news that had just come across the board is the Washington State football coach has been fired because he basically decided not to get the vaccine, and all state employees of Washington has to get the vaccine. Are you for that or are you against that?
It's kind of it's hard because you never when it comes to like people putting stuff in their body, it's hard to like try to say someone should do this, should do that. I'm not the type of person to tell people what to do. I'm very much one of those like it's your business, blah blah blah. I
Exactly.
think when it comes to so there's a different like argument story to tell when it comes to whether or not these should be laws. On the flip side, as far as Washington State is concerned, it's kind of like, all right, well, like if you can't coach, then I mean, what are we doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
we can't really have you. We can't pay you your this college football coach salary if you can't coach. So I feel like that's kind of like when that happens, it's really forcing. It kind of forces the school's brass to do something that they may or may not have wanted to do. Who knows? Um, I didn't know that came out. That yeah, you kind of sprung that one on me.
Yeah,
But
well, it literally broke about 10 minutes ago, so it kind
oh,
of
okay, okay.
sprung on all of us. So yeah,
Yeah, like I mean,
yeah,
yeah. So like as far as I have no issue as far as the school doing what they felt they needed to do in said situation, especially given the circumstance. Um, I'm not sure if I would go as far to do like the whole vaccine mandates thing, but I mean, people have their beliefs, and people in power are able to, um, make those beliefs a reality, and it's what it is.
right. So one thing that I said before you came on is like let's put Alabama and Nick Saban in that position. They don't fire him, right?
No, 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 no. You don't fire him. It's they try to find a way. Honestly, I think that in certain states, Texas, Florida, California, college football is such a big deal that they wouldn't even, Alabama, they wouldn't dare try to do that, or football in general, because now you don't know how many coaches back, blah blah blah. I don't think they'd even dare. But let's just say Alabama was kind of tone deaf to what the values are in Alabama, and they were like, hey, you can't be an employee. The school would probably do something along the lines of, oh well, we're a private, whatever, who has
Yeah.
the right to like make our. They'll find a way around it. I don't think Nick Saban gets fired if he doesn't get the vaccine. I think there's some way they find that around there.
Yeah, AKA fake vaccine card, like what's his face did. I can't even remember
Mhm.
who it was, but before we get into your bottom line segment tonight, tell the people what your show is all about, where they can find you, etc.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, bottom line podcast. I'm really just trying to get people to understand, or I'm trying to shed light on topics through sports that help us have progressive, and enlightening conversations. Right. So it's not, oh, the such and such, they won the game last night. Well, yeah, yeah, we all saw they won the game last night. I don't need to reiterate that they won the game last night, but it's for me, it's more of, oh, this is kind of some stuff, breaking news. This is some stuff on the back end. What does this mean? How does this intertwine? Because I think sports is such a huge crossover just in life. And culturally in the United States, and how does this kind of stuff intertwine with our day-to-day life? What can be important, social activism and things like that through sports, and just keeping people aware. But we do it in a way that I do it in a way that shows both sides, that is not here to judge or here to try to direct somebody one way or the other, but to kind of show two sides of the coin so that the conversation can actually be had.
Alrighty, and that's exactly what you're going to bring here with us tonight with me and BC Combs as I flip the screen around here. So, what is your first topic that you like to discuss for tonight?
Well, it's funny because it's been a couple weeks since I've been on. Had some family stuff to deal with, and I apologize for not making it. But last time we were on, it was Kyrie Irving was here. We had Kyrie Irving to talk about, and it's funny because now we have Kyrie Irving to talk about again. And I have an episode that's dropping tomorrow morning, and I briefly had talked about this. And basically, for those who aren't aware, Kyrie, not vaccinated, as we all know, he's kind of one of those like go against the grain kind of people. And now in the state of New York, just like you talked about with Washington, you're not allowed, like employees have to be vaccinated. So he can't play for the Brooklyn Nets at home games because he's not vaccinated. And so they were in this thing where, well, he's only going to play road games. He's only going to they let him so he can practice. And I think the Nets, like the organization, the players were just kind of like, oh, like he's doing his Kyrie thing, but eventually, he'll get the vaccine and he'll play. And when they realized, oh, he's not, they were like, well, Kyrie, if he can't be 100% participant, he can't, we're not going to play him at all. We're not doing that. And so I think that, really where the Nets kind of messed up is even entertaining that in the first place. Like, oh yeah, he'll like they should have I don't know. Anyway, so Kyrie, of course, is not getting this vaccine, blah, blah, blah. And he's very much like, oh, I want to, what was the quote? He wants to be a voice for the voiceless or whatever it was. Yeah. But at the same time, he's like, oh, please respect my decision. It's a personal decision. And you don't get to do that. I couldn't care less, honestly, about, I can respect standing on your ground. Hey, I believe in this. I'm going to stand behind this, and no one's going to push me off of that hill. I'm willing to die on this hill. I can respect that. I can respect having a cause, having a purpose. And I do think that Kyrie Irving's heart is in the right place, right? What I don't think you get a chance to get away with is the whole, hey, I want to be a voice for the voiceless and not use your voice. It doesn't get to be a personal decision at that point. When Muhammad Ali decided I'm not going to the military and got arrested when they drafted him, he didn't say, oh, well, hey, it's just a personal decision. Please respect my decision and blah, blah, blah. He didn't get to say that. When you decided, and talking about Kyrie, when he decided to put himself as the face of this, right, he took all that personal decision away because now it's a group decision. And if you're going to be the face of it all, if you're going to be the voice of it all, you have to speak. You don't get to go hide in the corner. You don't get to do that. And that's my problem. I couldn't honestly care less about his decision to get the vaccine or not. I care about yo, man, on top of the fact that these people aren't voiceless. We have heard plenty of people who were like, oh, they hate mask mandates. That group of people, whoever they are very well represented. They didn't need Kyrie. They didn't ask for Kyrie to come be the face of this. He decided to self-appoint himself as the leader of this and then decide, well, but at the same time, I'm going to go crawl in a hole. And that's just not okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the same league and, to a different extent, allowed Magic Johnson to continue playing through the AIDS pandemic. And when that thing was running rampant in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was really starting to become a thing where they didn't know whether or not they had a cure for it. They didn't know whether or not it was treatable. They didn't know much. And they allowed Magic Johnson to continue playing, which he had it. and they know he had it. Kyrie might get it, correct? Kyrie might be a carrier. Kyrie might get sick, but he's not. And this is a league that, has sat there and told us time and time and time again that they want to be the face of movements. They want to be the face of saying this and saying that. They don't care about the politics. They want what's right to be right. And then they do this. Like, to me, that is the ultimate. That just undid everything that they were trying to do over even the last 2 years. It just undid everything that they were trying to be about and everything that they were trying to push to their fans, something that they were trying to voice to their fans. And you just undid it with this, because to say that Kyrie Irving can't play at home games only, at home games, mind you, which is really weird because he could go to, what was the other one? It was a Clippers, right? Was the other one that said
The Warriors.
Golden
yeah.
State,
So he could go to the Warriors and play, but any untested Warrior couldn't play in that game, and any untested Warrior could go to Brooklyn and play in a game, but Kyrie can't go to Brooklyn and play a game. Like, it makes zero sense. They're not trying to do anything. What they're trying to do is appease their political affiliations. They're trying to appease the people that promote the sport. They're trying to appease political agenda with this, and that's just plain and simple. It's right out in the open. And with everything that they've been trying to do, look, I was fine with the walkout at during the bubble. I was fine with all the stuff they were trying to do. I understood the cause that they were fighting for. I understood what they were doing with the shirts and with the kneeling and with the protesting. Hell, I'm a Marine. I fought for their right to do that, so I understand that part of it. What I don't understand is how you can take all of that and say all of that and then push forward with this, because it's the exact opposite of everything you've just been trying to say for 2 years.
Now remember, this isn't the NBA. This is the Nets specifically, right? So, like, for example, Jonathan Isaac, right? He's not getting the vaccine. The NBA doesn't mind him. They're not saying he can't play. This is specifically because of a rule in New York. And it's like New York, California, and maybe a couple other places that are saying that's why the Nets are saying it. The NBA, where I am with you, is the NBA, you don't, for change to happen, you can't just like walk the straight sword, whatever the phrase is. The NBA doesn't take a stand for what they feel is not right. What the NBA does is they say, hey, well, we did our part. We said the right things. We didn't make them quit. But the NBA is not like, hey, Kyrie, we got your back. And I think that's where the NBA could, if they really want to prove that they feel the way they say they feel, that's what they, and what can they do? I don't know.
Yeah, and it's funny that Brooklyn and sorry, Buck. It's funny that Brooklyn and California and the other couple of places are like, oh, Kyrie can't play. This player can't play. That player can't play. But on Saturdays when college football is going on, 10,000 people can pack the stadium, jump up and down, maskless, and that's cool. But Kyrie can't play.
It's because it is inside. Let's just be honest about that. But here is what the NBA could do. Hit him in the pocket. How much revenue do you think a Nets home game brings to the state of New York, to the city of what is it's wherever they play?
Brooklyn.
Is it actually in Brooklyn? Okay. So hit him in the pocketbook. Say, hey, Nets, you won't have any home games this year. Every home game will be played in Philadelphia. Sorry.
Take a stance like Major League Baseball did. Look what Major League Baseball did with the Toronto Blue Jays. They moved him out of Toronto and moved him into Buffalo because Canada didn't want us crossing the border to go over there and play because they didn't want unvaccinated Americans going over there and playing. So what did they do? They said, all right, fine. We're not playing in Toronto then. Toronto, your home games are now in Buffalo. Some of your home games will be in Florida.
If the NBA really wants to push this push this agenda that they've been pushing for the last 2 years. Do that. Hit him in the pocketbook. Hit him where it counts. Or if you want your star player to play, get a bubble again. Meaning the bubble was pretty successful, right? They didn't have any COVID tests or any positive tests, just besides the one that brought the hookers in or whatever. I don't know, but I kind of digress on that. But hit him in the pocketbook, Kevin. Like, that's how the NBA can back Kyrie and whoever else is not getting the vaccine.
Yeah, the money talks, right?
Yeah.
And so and here's the thing. Here's what another thing people have to realize. The players don't run the NBA, and Adam Silver doesn't really run the NBA, right? The owners run the NBA, okay?
Oh,
But the owners are the
you know
same.
the players run the NBA. Don't
Yeah,
you?
the
Don't
players
kid
are the
yourself.
reason
A
people
handful
watch
of
the
players.
NBA. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, okay, like the NBA is tethered towards certain people for media reasons, right? LeBron James.
Mhm.
But the players don't run the NBA. That's why there's collective bargaining, is because it's players versus owners. And it seems like every CBA, they're trying to adjust something because the owners got one up on them on the last CBA every time or whatever, right? So the owners are really the big money people, are really the ones that own the NBA. And the problem is the owners have the same similar agendas of the people who are saying the things like, hey, if you don't have if you're not vaccinated, you can't play. So now when you have owners who run the NBA, how can the NBA basically go against the politics when the owners behind the scenes, behind the cameras, support the politics?
100%.
And
100%.
that's their problem.
It's complete politics. A lot of this, and don't get me wrong, like, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. COVID's clearly a real thing. People have clearly died from it. It's a real thing. It's dangerous for people who have underlying conditions. It's dangerous if you catch the pneumonia from it. It can take your life. The numbers, that's another debate. Do I believe the numbers? No. I mean, anytime you give CEOs of hospitals extra money for positive cases, the numbers are going to be skewed. Nothing you can do about that. So that's fine. But this whole thing is about the politics. This whole thing is about how much money are they going to make off of it? How much money do you think they've made off the vaccines? How much money do you think they're going to make off of needing a booster from the vaccines? Granted, they're giving a lot of people these shots for free, but somebody's paying for them. Somebody's paying for them. You don't think that there's a direct reflection in gas prices? You don't think there's a direct reflection in tax hikes? You don't think there's a direct, you're paying for it. You just don't know that you're paying for it. So people like it, and that's just one of the things. It's one of the things politics has done. It's one of the things politics will continue to do, which is divide and conquer. And that's what they do. And they've done a great job of it over the last 10 years or so. I'm not gonna lie. They especially over the last, since probably 2018, they've done a tremendous job of it. And every 4 years, something else comes up. And it's been that way for the last 3 elections.
Facts.
People, I don't like to get too political, but people just at some point you have to open your eyes and understand that this whole thing isn't as black and white as it seems. And maybe if you look at things from both sides of the fence, as opposed to through political affiliations, you might understand.
So, Kevo, you brought up something very intriguing that I want to talk about here. You said that the owners of the NBA teams are, striving for their political agenda. And if you want to toe that line a tad bit here, I believe every NBA owner is a white owner, right? And like we've heard the Don Sterling tapes or the old Clippers owners, but yet Silva wanted to push other political agendas like on it. So if he really wanted to really push the agenda, like with the whole Black Lives Matter thing within the bubble, and then the Breonna Taylor thing, and the George, like in the George Floyd, I've heard behind the scenes talks with these owners saying this is dumb, right? Like this is hurting our brand. But Adam Silva wanted to push that agenda. So if he really wanted to push this, I don't want to play in New York because of XYZ, he could probably get it done. Let's just be honest about it.
But with that being said, With that being said, the reason the owners, while they may very well be against the Black Lives Matter uh, mementos and signage on the court and things like that, it's not really affecting their bottom line. When you say, hey, if you say we're not playing in New York, you hit owner's pocket. What happens then is owner doesn't have money to keep back in the fundraiser for governor's pocket, right? But you also now open Pandora's box. Well, that means we have to do that in New York. That means we have to do that in Washington. That means we have to do that in California. There are 5 teams in California.
Yeah.
Right. Like everybody, when you guys brought up the Blue Jays thing, it was a great point, but that's only one team. We're talking about 7 different teams. And it's hard to do that because you have to do it everywhere. But I want to bring this back full circle because the conversation we're having right now, this is what I mean when I say progressive conversation. If Kyrie came out and said, I'm not getting the vaccine because these mandates do X, Y, and Z, and they push this agenda, and they do this, and he brings out the stuff we're talking about, then I'm cool with it. All right, cool. You have a purpose. But
We're
instead,
having a whole different conversation.
a whole different conversation. But instead, this isn't the conversation he wants to have. Kyrie Irving wants to go against the grain. Remember now, this is the guy who said, hey, I want to leave Cleveland because I want to be LeBron for somebody else. I don't want to be little brother anymore. And then he realized, okay, I can't do it. Let me call KD. This is the guy who said, hey, the earth is flat. Then came back and said, actually, it's not that I think the earth is flat. It's just that I think we should open up the conversation instead of just assume that it's round. This is the guy who said, hey, I'm not getting the vaccine. And then he came out and said, well, it's not that I'm anti-vaccine. I just don't like the fact that people are losing their jobs to vaccine mandate. This is the stuff I'm talking about. And think about this. One last thing on Kyrie. Remember, I don't know if you guys heard, remember when Travis Scott and Kylie Jenner bought that school bus because their daughter was like, oh, I'm not going to know what it's like to ride the bus. So they brought a school bus, and people who had to actually, normal people like us who actually had to deal with the pain of riding a school bus kind of found that disrespectful. Really, you're so disconnected with society. You're making a publicity stunt out of riding the bus. Let's flip that on Kyrie now. Is it not a little bit disrespectful? Hey, I'm over here pinching pennies. I lost my job to a mandate, and you're choosing to lose your job so you can see what it's like to be me, even though you're sitting on millions and millions and millions, maybe hundreds of millions that you've earned through whatever, and you're not really actually going through it with me.
Yeah.
But you just want to put yourself there so that you can be the face of whatever.
And that's where on the court, I'm not a big fan of LeBron James. Off the court, I'm a tremendous fan of LeBron James. On the court, I think he's a flopper, and I think he whines, and I think that he's part of the reason why the NBA is not really a product that I care to watch at the rate I used to. Off the court, the guy puts his money where his mouth is. The guy pays for educations. The guy helps troubled youth. The guy puts his money back into his community, does the things that he needs to do. And Kyrie's just not that. Kyrie is just not. Kyrie is, he's a lot to me. He's a lot like Colin Kaepernick. To me, I believe Colin Kaepernick doesn't want to play in the NFL. Colin Kaepernick wants to play in the limelight. And that's where Kyrie Irving's at right now.
That's a great point.
That's a great point. That's a great point, man. And it's like LeBron, and then this is the other thing too. And I'm just rambling now. Talked about this a while ago. LeBron James is the guy, and like you mentioned, he's a great man off the court. I do think he's gotten a bit spoiled on the court, right? Yeah. And I just don't even like watching the Lakers sometimes because there's always where's the call? What's that in third ball? But LeBron James, do you guys remember in the bubble? So I guess this is a year and a half ago, whatever that was, when the Milwaukee Bucks decided, hey, we're not playing that game against Orlando because of what happened in Milwaukee. And then all the players had a meeting about if they were even going to continue playing in the bubble. And the reports came out that LeBron just kind of was upset sitting in the corner. And he was mad that nobody asked him first.
Yeah.
Because LeBron James wants to be that guy. This guy we're talking about. The league has been centered around him so much that hey, and Patrick Beverley, remember what he said before the bubble? He said, look, if LeBron says we're hooping, we're hooping. right? LeBron is so used to being the guy who, hey, everyone's following his lead, that when the Milwaukee Bucks decided, hey, we're not going to ask LeBron, we're going to do something because this is what we want to do, LeBron was upset about it, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
for LeBron, this is the time to step up and say, hey, players, guys, we need to come get this vaccine. We need to do this. We need to make this money. We need to come get this vaccine. It helps everybody's pockets. We're not getting fined for missing games. Well, I get the vaccine. This is the stuff LeBron could stand up for and say, hey, guys, if you're not vaccinated, come on now. You didn't have a problem telling people to vote. But this is the time where if you want to be that leader and lead the players and say, follow my lead, hey, I'm going to lead you guys because I went and got vaccinated because I think it's the best thing to do. At least come talk to me. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Let me tell you why I got vaccinated. Let me tell you about, what happened in my family. But no, it's a personal decision thing. I'm sorry. These guys have decided that playing basketball is not enough, and that's fine. They've decided that they want to be activists socially, and that's fine. That is great. They've decided we have a platform, we want to use our voice. That's great, but you don't get to pick and choose. If you want to do that, do that. If you don't. But stop. You don't get to pick and choose. You don't.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, Kevin, you nailed it on the head as always.
I do what I can. I do what I can.
You got another topic for us?
Well, I've been back and forth with this next one. I really didn't know. I ended up not talking about it on my show because the whole John Gruden thing is just kind of sticky. It is
we touched on it 3 times already.
Oh,
Let's
yeah?
go, Kev. Let's go, Kev. This is a man hour, live, raw, and uncut, baby.
Well, all right, then let's hit it then. I would really love to hear kind of what you guys touched on previously, before I got on, and kind of just give my take on my spin on things as well. If you could just give me the quick little rundown 411.
So basically, for me, I feel like there was a lot of things. Like, I don't condone anything that he said in the emails. However, they were private emails. They were emails that were intended for nobody to hear, and this was 10 years ago, mind you. And then somebody leaked them. And not only that, but then you kind of looked at the whole calling him dumb Morris Smith. First of all, it's a stupid joke, and it just is what it is. But the big lips thing, to me, I found I didn't really find like it was a racial thing. Like, I really had to ask people, is that really a racial thing? Because I love Angelina Jolie's lips. She got some big lips, man. And it's not racial when I say that about her. And there are plenty of rich white women who got some big lips because they go and get those injections. Mm-hmm. And I felt like it was sort of a reach. And then you get the emails coming from the Washington, not Redskins anymore. I don't call them the football team. They're the Washington NRA, the not Redskins anymore. They send him the pictures. Now, look, I've seen lots of memes. I've seen lots of photos. I've seen lots of adult videos, we'll say. Do I know that all of them girls are doing this out of the goodness of their heart because they want to make a career out of it? Do I know that these girls in these pictures and videos are being forced to take these pictures and videos? No, I don't. And if I did, I probably wouldn't look at them or watch them. John Gruden might have been in that same boat. John Gruden was sent these from the Washington football team. Now, I get I get where people are a little bit taken aback by, he's talking about people being, whatever, gay, calling them, slurs and stuff like that. My 15-year-old son has come out recently and talked about his sexuality. And I have no problem with it. Like, I love my son just the same as I did before he told me. I knew since he was 8. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. So I've got gay friends. I've got friends who are transsexual. I've got friends who are bisexual. I've got friends who are of all genders, of all races, of all ages. Sometimes I think people just need to chill out and not take things so crazy seriously. Because I got that sense of humor, dude. I laugh at a lot of shit that I shouldn't laugh at. Like there's a lot of things that I laugh at. I've just got that sense of humor. I've got a dark sense of humor. And look, I love people for who they are. I respect people for what they believe in. I respect people for who they are. I respect people for their own thoughts, their own beliefs, their own everything. You are who you are. And unless you personally offend me, or unless and I don't get offended easily. So if you offend me, you did some shit. and unless you personally hurt me, or you do something that I'm just like, look, that's not good. Or if you're a man and you hit a woman, or you do something that you abuse or sexually abuse a child, I got no use for you. But other than that, I take people for who they are. I'm okay with some things that get said, some things I find funny. Hell, I grew up in an era of listening to guys on stand-up comedy like Richard Pryor. Like if you want to hear some crude stuff, go listen to Richard Pryor. Listen to David Chappelle. Listen, there are people who are out there speaking the truth, and they're speaking the truth on both ends of the spectrum. They don't care about who they're offending. They don't care about politics. They don't care about race. And what did David Chappelle say? David Chappelle said, okay, is this what cancel culture is like? Good. He says, F Twitter, F Facebook, F CNN, F Fox News. Like he just goes off on a tangent. Screw everybody. And that's the way that I look at things. Like, I don't care about your political affiliation. I don't care about your sexual orientation. I don't care about the things that make you different from me. What I care about is who you are as a person. And if who you are as a person is a genuine person, then I'm all right with that. So the John Gruden thing, I was okay with them firing him. I was okay with them letting him go. I was okay with him walking away, however they want to say it happened. I understood why they parted ways. I think it was good for John Gruden to do that. I actually think John Gruden showed class in stepping away and not making this a circus for the Raiders. I think he showed class in showing and not making his team have to deal with this on a nightly basis. And so that's where we've kind of touched on it, and that's kind of basically the things that we've said. I mean, Buck's basically said the same things. So
couple things. First, I'm with you on the sense of humor. I am someone who watches Family Guy religiously, and talk about jokes that cross the line, right? Like, I don't find there's a certain level of like disrespect, whatever. It's just jokes, right? It seems like you can get away with anything as long as it's funny. So you mentioned comedians that cross the line all the time, whatever you consider crossing the line is. And reading some of the stuff in the emails, he didn't attack me, Kevin Collaire, personally. So I'm not like, I'm not like someone who is like upset, hurting, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, right? Because I've kind of hardened to this sort of stuff. What I think that all right, so let's touch on the cheerleader thing. So obviously there's the reason why this even got found in the first place was because they were doing the investigation because of the story from last year with Washington, and in regards to the toxic work environment and blah blah blah. So because of that, they were like, oh, we're looking through stuff, and we came across this. Let's go down this rabbit hole. Oh, wow, okay. I don't think that just the emails and the insults or the jokes about DeMaurice Smith would have been enough to make, because that came out on like a Friday, and they were just like, oh, he came out, made a statement, blah blah blah, boom boom boom. They had a game Sunday. It wasn't until like Monday, or maybe it was Sunday night or whatever, when like it was Sunday night because it was while Lamar Jackson was putting on a show against the Colts. And all of a sudden all that came out, and like, you know what, Lamar Jackson just got completely overshadowed because of just John Gruden stuff. The things that where it's kind of like, all right, John, it makes you wonder about his true character and what he really feels is when I started looking at, you know, his feelings towards the whole player equality, Black Lives Matter, kneeling for the flag thing, right? He said that Eric Reed should be fired or whatever exact thing was for kneeling. When that was all going on, John Gruden was on TV. John Gruden was on the Monday Night Football broadcast. And John Gruden never one time expressed any sort of like even the slightest pushback towards it. It was always 100% support. While going back behind, you know, behind closed doors and saying whatever he's saying. Again, the jokes, I'm not really worried about the jokes, right? But he came on TV every day, 100% supportive, like he didn't have a problem. He coached the Raiders every day as if he didn't mind that there was somebody who's openly gay on his team. For them to find out that he's got a bit of an issue with kind of this progressive change. Very much against women, you know, being referees. And quite frankly, I'm not 100% sure if it was John receive the pictures, send the pictures, ask for the pictures, whatever. But in these emails, there is him telling the guy he was emailing with to tell one of the people to perform oral sex on him, some front office person for the Buccaneers or something like that. He uses certain words. He called Roger Goodell a gutless P word. I don't know if you be cussing on here. I'm not trying to, you know, cross the line with the words used, right? He's using the Q word when we talk about Michael Sam, right? Just certain stuff where it kind of makes you look and you're like, dude, like, where is your heart really at, right? And so you said, Combs, for you, it's important because you want to know the kind of person. I think, like you know, what you say, whatever. We all make jokes. I don't have any emails for two reasons. One, I wouldn't put anything like that in an email. But two, I just don't have any emails. But like,
especially when you're in a position like that, you kind of have to. And that's why I've said, like, I don't. We've had these announcers lately that get caught on a hot mic and get in trouble or lose their job or have to apologize. Like, I keep saying, you've got to be smarter than that. When you're in that position and you know that there's microphones around, when you're an athlete, when you are a public figure, somebody's always looking for your downfall.
Gotta assume that like someone's listening.
Buck, you, Kev, nobody's looking for us at the club like, oh, I gotta take a picture of this man. I'm gonna get him. They're not looking at that because we're just regular average Joes. You know what I mean? So you do have to, and that's the part of me that like I have no sympathy because look, I've made jokes similar to that with my friends. Like hell, I have made jokes like that with my son who's 15 because he understands that when I say that, that's just a part of who I am. I'm a real person. And he knows that regardless, I love him no matter what. Like that's the thing. Like my friends take me for that because they know that no matter what, I'm gonna have their back. Like hell, I've been inside of gay clubs with friends who are gay, hanging out and saying stuff about gay people, like joking around because it's just a joke. Like it's not, and they don't take it seriously because they know of the person that you are. But when you're a public figure and you say this in an email, I think something like this is, for me, when I look at it, is that if somebody were to have heard the things that I've said with my friends joking around, even though they didn't take offense to it, even though they were okay with it, even though they laughed about it, other people might not perceive it that way. And even though I'm not that person, they might take me as being that person. So for me, I feel like his actions in this sense almost speak louder than his words because he has defended. He has been there for them. He didn't care when he was coaching the football team. He did those things. And I think that he said these things to somebody that he trusted in a light-hearted way, and it got turned on him.
Yeah, see, like that's the biggest problem is that we have Combs is like when you and me go joking around with our friends and we use those type of words with our friends, they do not take offense to it. It is always the outside person 15 miles away that overhears something, twists it around, and they find offense to it. That's the problem that we're living in right now, 100%. Like is like it's not that you're offended, it's not that you're offended, it's that that person across the pond is offended. It is complete bullshit just because they are looking to break the story. They're looking to get their 10 minutes of fame, right? That's exactly what is happening with John Gruden. Now, am I saying what he said is right? Absolutely not. I mean, first things first, don't leave a paper trail. That's rule number one of any type of thing. When you know something is wrong, I mean, you can say it or not. What he did was wrong. Don't leave a paper trail. Sorry to say, that's just the way it is. The reason why we're not in trouble is because we say it. We don't text it. We don't email it. We don't put it on the Facebook, right? It's just, that's the problem, Kev, is like people get it twisted.
We got booted off off YouTube.
Did we?
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I guess they didn't like hearing truth.
Hey, I think that, and we'll we've been on much. I've been on much longer than I expected to, which is fine. But
don't worry, we're still on Facebook. They ain't gonna shut us down.
So I think that the thing for me with this is I don't think that John Gruden is the problem. I think the problem that a lot of people might not necessarily realize, and I told a friend of mine who works for our local radio station here, and I wanted to make sure that I told him to make this point the other day, is that wasn't just like email between John Gruden and Bruce Allen, right? Like that was a group, that was a email chain. There were multiple CEOs and league, higher ups in the league for other teams, for the NFL, whatever, on this chain. And they feel comfortable talking this way. Nobody in there
was part of that chain.
Nobody in there felt the need to say, hey, relax, or hey, let's calm that down, right? Nobody felt the need. Everybody was just comfortable with it. Some of them probably maybe chuckled at it. Some of them probably were like, oh yeah, I agree, whatever it is. But nobody felt like, ooh, that might be pushing the envelope a little bit. That might be standing a little bit closer to the edge, my guy. So now it makes you wonder, like, okay, maybe John Gruden's the one that got caught. But how many of them are still out there who feel like, hey, this progressive nonsense. I'm all for the progressiveness. I love seeing female referees out there. I don't think that there's anything a male can do.
Oh, we've got male referees all over the league showing that they can't do it.
Exactly. The referees are garbage anyway. So like,
yeah.
It's a very good point. But like, so I'm all for it. I'm all for, I got no problem with openly gay players in the NFL. I got no problem with none of it, right? But how many of them have a problem? How many of them are doing things? Because again, we go back to who runs the leagues. It's owners. We know it's the Jerry Jones and the Robert Krafts, et cetera, et cetera. What if they're like, well, I don't like it. So now we're trying to get governors in positions of power to say things like, oh, they could never say this, but just for an example, oh, well, you got to be, now you have to put on your paperwork whether you're, gay or bisexual or transgender or whatever, and then giving people the opportunity to judge them based off that, because deep down, these owners don't want that. Again, I'm not saying that. I'm just using a very out there example. But you start to like, okay, what's the culture like in these NFL front offices, higher ups? We all know that Dan Snyder's a piece of crap. But
But pause on your thought there. Like if you think about this now, Job Employment Now has that. Are you a male or are you a female? Right? Are you
Or
black,
no, because
white,
they
Asian?
got male,
Right.
female, or don't want to answer.
Right. But like so me for example, I was applying for a job for a network admin job and I put that I was a white male because I am a white male. I never got an interview once for any of those positions. I do not want to tell, and I got 15 calls in the next 2 weeks for the same exact job. So tell me that people are not reading into that now.
Well, not only that, but like so for my job, like I'm a field supervisor, I'm an area installation manager. Like I do the hiring for the crews for our construction company, and I've been told by HR, you're not allowed to ask somebody's age, you're not allowed to ask whether or not they are male or female, and you're not allowed to ask whether or not they graduated high school. You're not allowed to ask um, their race. All of that they get off the license. You're not allowed to ask any of that in an interview. Some of that I wouldn't ask anyway in an interview because it's pretty obvious when you come to the interview the answer to those questions anyway. But it's just it's one of those where it's just like, all right, so basically I could have done this interview over the phone and I didn't have to meet anybody because all the criteria that I would have asked over the phone, you can't ask anymore.
yeah, and that's like I see why they try to do that, because they try to, you can't ask, 'cause if you don't know, you can't discriminate, based on
Yeah.
age or based on, so like, all right, I get it. But yeah, like, even those statistics, you're right, they are still their own applications. I don't know if I don't think there are applications like where you have to like address your sexual orientation.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's like, all right, back to it. It's just kind of like, man, like how many people feel like this kind of stuff is okay? We all
Right.
three of us are very clear with, like, we don't condone the words. We don't condone that. We're not saying that. Um, but we're also but we weren't on those email chains. And if we
Right.
were, seems to me, based on what we say, that we'd the ones to be like, hey, like let's relax, And maybe there was somebody. I feel like that's something that would have came out. I think that being able to prey on the state that our country is in, everybody's divisive, everybody's separate, like everything is separating everyone,
Yeah.
and we're all a bit sensitive. Not I
Yeah.
just mean, like, as a whole country, we've become sensitive. Don't you dare say anything negative about the way I feel or what I believe or whatever.
Yeah.
And because nobody wants to just mind their business and let people do what they do, we get this stuff all the
And
time.
it's if you don't believe what I believe in, if you don't like what I like, then I can't like you and I can't
Hmm.
respect you. And it's the exact opposite of how it should be.
How it should be.
There are, look, we've talked about it plenty of times on this show where, because it affects sports, and so we talked about the George Floyd thing, we've talked about the Breonna Taylor thing, and I've said before I ever honor somebody like George Floyd, before I ever honor Breonna Taylor, I will honor Martin Luther King, I will honor Jackie Robinson, because those are people who tried to make a difference. And while the situations of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were sad, and the cop in the George Floyd case was despicable and absolutely deserves to be in prison, George Floyd is not somebody who deserves to be honored and thrown, named streets after and given days for, because he wasn't really somebody that I want my kids to look at and be like, yeah, that's somebody that I get a day off of school for him because of that. That's not somebody that you want like that. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If I could take one athlete ever in the history of sports to sit down next to and have a conversation with, it would be Jackie Robinson. because that man, the intestinal fortitude he had to have to play the sport that he loved, the sport that I love, is amazing to me. Like it is genuine. I would have loved to have the honor of speaking to a guy like Jackie Robinson. So we touch on these subjects all the time because it does affect sports. It does change sports. It does do those things. So when we say things like, you know, we don't condone the words, but you know, we don't think it's really as bad as they're making it out to be. It's not like us saying, you know, as long as you don't get caught, it's okay. Because that's not what we're saying at all. What we're saying is it's not always black and white as it makes it out to be. It's not always, and I'm not talking about color of your skin. I'm talking about print on a paper. It's not always, you know, plain and simple. It's sometimes there's levels to these things and levels that we just don't get to see.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, guys. So that's going to be it with Kevo2 tonight. Be sure to follow him on Twitter at the Real Kevo on the old Twitter machine. Kev, anything before you head out, man?
No, man. I think we hit it on the head. Like I said, or like you said, at the Real Kev _0 episode coming out tomorrow. Great interview with Brenda Tracy, founder of Set the Expectation nonprofit. You know, all about the fight against sexual assault for college athletes. She's a great inspiration. Go look her up if you haven't. You know, she's a great story. Her story is amazing. So I got a great interview dropping with her tomorrow morning. I'm really excited about it. But yeah, man, you know, the Bottom Line podcast, check it out if you're really trying to get real for a second, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on as always. And, you know, I'll see you next week.
All righty, Kev.
Hey,
Thank
thanks,
you for
Kev.
joining us. And I'll be sure to retweet that on the Man Hour Twitter page and my own as well. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week, big guy.
Thanks, guys.
All righty, guys. So that is going to be it with Kevin for tonight. And Combs, it is time to wrap up the show as well. So that segment with Kevin went a little bit longer than usual, usually for about 15, 20 minutes. An hour later, we're still talking because, you know, you cannot stop a good conversation. But
yeah,
as always, guys, thank you for joining us. We are giving away the Tumblr this week, so be sure to get your loyalty points up. Use hashtag Beastie and the number of entries that you want to do. It is a minimum of 2 over there, up to 10,000 times or 5,000 entries you can get for this week. So, Combs, send us out, big guy.
Man Hour Nation, rise up.